Lyra, Claire, and Nyrin traveled across the star systems to return to the alien queen's palace. The journey was quiet, but filled with reflection. Lyra thought about everything they had witnessed. The human soldier had shown strength, care, and precision beyond anything she had imagined. Nyrin flew steadily above the ship, eyes alert, wings reflecting distant starlight. Claire stood beside Lyra, calm and thoughtful, speaking little but sharing her understanding silently. They approached the palace, the familiar spires rising against the backdrop of glowing planets. Lyra felt a sense of responsibility. The queen had feared the human soldier, believing him to be a threat. Lyra now understood that he was more than that. He was a protector and a guide in times of chaos. Nyrin landed softly as they entered the palace halls, the dragon's presence commanding attention without force. Lyra carried the memories of the human soldier with her, knowing that what she would say could change the course of decisions. Claire followed, steady and supportive. The queen waited in the main chamber, her eyes filled with expectation and lingering fear. Lyra stepped forward and spoke, recounting what they had seen. She explained how the human soldier had moved through the ruins, helping survivors, providing guidance, and inspiring order. The queen listened, her hands clasped tightly, lips pressed together. Lyra described the calm and focus of his presence, the way he inspired hope rather than destruction. Claire added her observations, noting the way humans rose to challenge and supported one another under his guidance. Nyrin's silver scales glimmered in the chamber light, a silent reminder of the power of presence and partnership. The queen's eyes widened as Lyra spoke. She had trembled at the human soldier's name, imagining a figure of fear. But the truth was far different. He was disciplined, purposeful, and protective. Lyra emphasized that his actions spoke louder than any tales or rumors. The queen leaned back, absorbing every word. She realized that the human soldier's reputation was born from his skill and determination, not from cruelty or desire for power. Lyra noted that understanding him could shift the approach to the war that threatened all worlds. Claire remained quiet but nodded to Lyra, signaling agreement and support. Nyrin growled softly, standing by the side, a guardian as always. Lyra continued, explaining the way he moved through battle and ruins, aiding survivors and organizing defenses without seeking recognition. The queen listened, the tension in her body slowly easing. Lyra conveyed that the human soldier could become an ally rather than an enemy if understood and approached correctly. The queen finally spoke, her voice soft and thoughtful. She asked questions about his methods and his purpose. Lyra and Claire answered carefully, ensuring that the truth of his actions and intent was clear. The queen's fear began to shift into cautious respect. She recognized that a force like this human soldier could change the outcome of war in ways previously unimagined. Lyra then explained how the human soldier moved with purpose, beyond anger or ambition. His skill and calm presence allowed him to survive impossible situations and inspire others without command or intimidation. Nyrin shifted beside Lyra, sensing the importance of the moment. The queen nodded slowly, understanding the depth of what she had feared and what Lyra now revealed. She realized that the human soldier was not simply a warrior, but a symbol of hope and order in chaos. Lyra concluded that approaching him with trust and clarity could form a powerful alliance. Claire added that humans could rise to challenges in ways that sometimes seemed like legend, but were grounded in determination and courage. The queen's eyes reflected a mix of respect and caution. Lyra and Claire stayed steady, knowing the moment required patience. Nyrin's wings twitched as he waited quietly. Finally, the queen spoke with decision. She would meet this human soldier herself, not in fear but with understanding. She asked Lyra to guide her, and Lyra nodded. The journey ahead would require diplomacy, trust, and courage. The queen stood, regal and cautious, ready to face the human whose name had spread fear, but whose actions held truth. Lyra felt a sense of fulfillment. Their mission was clear and meaningful. They had observed, learned, and returned with knowledge that could shape the future. Niren circled above, wings reflecting starlight, a symbol of the alliance that could now be forged. Claire walked beside Lyra, silently affirming their shared understanding. As they prepared to meet the human soldier once more, Lyra understood that the path ahead would be difficult, but the possibilities were vast. With careful planning, trust, and the lessons learned from observation, they could turn fear into partnership and chaos into hope. The stars stretched above them as they moved forward, carrying the truth of what they had witnessed and the promise of alliances that could change the fate of worlds. The human soldier would stand not as a figure of fear, but as a guide for those willing to see beyond legend and witness the strength of purpose and courage. Lyra felt the weight of this knowledge and the importance of what they would do next. The Queen, the humans, and the dragons could face the future with understanding and determination, shaped by the actions of a soldier who had moved with quiet power across the galaxies. Niren's wings flared once as a reminder of vigilance. Lyra and Claire stood together, ready to face the next steps with clarity, courage, and hope, carrying the story of the human soldier and the lessons he had shown in his path. Lyra, Claire, and Niren moved deeper into the ruined sectors of the moon. The air was thick with dust and smoke. Shadows stretched across broken buildings and scorched ground. Every step they took reminded them of the battles that had raged here. Lyra felt the weight of the Queen's words in her mind. The human soldier they sought was said to be unstoppable, a force that caused fear and awe across the galaxies. Yet as they moved closer, Lyra could sense more than just fear. There was purpose and determination in the stories, a reason behind the soldier's path. Niren hovered above, wings low, keeping a watchful eye on every movement. The dragon's silver scales glimmered faintly in the dim light, making him look like a moving shadow. Claire walked beside Lyra, calm and steady. She had seen humans rise in impossible situations, and she trusted that this soldier had his own reasons for the path he followed. They approached a central ruin that had once been a command station. Walls were broken, and floors were cracked. Lyra could see signs of recent activity. Someone had passed through recently. Claire whispered observations to Lyra, noting the tracks and patterns left behind. Lyra nodded, feeling a mixture of anticipation and caution. They moved silently, careful not to disturb the scene. Then, they saw him. The human soldier moved among the ruins, inspecting damage and tending to survivors. He did not carry weapons in his hands. His eyes were focused and calm, scanning every corner. Lyra felt the weight of the stories fall into place. He was not a figure of rage or cruelty, but a force of precision and purpose. Claire whispered that humans often became legends in ways that were misunderstood. Lyra understood now. This soldier had created his reputation not through fear, but through unmatched skill and the ability to inspire those around him. Niren shifted in the air, sensing the subtle tension. Lyra took a deep breath. She knew the moment of understanding had arrived. The soldier paused and looked toward a collapsed corridor. He moved slowly, observing the damage. Survivors followed his movements with quiet respect, taking guidance without hesitation. Lyra noticed the trust and order he inspired. She realized the truth of the fear that spread across galaxies. It was not born of terror but of certainty. His presence meant things would change. Lyra and Claire stepped forward, revealing themselves to the soldier. He turned calmly to face them. His eyes were steady and unafraid. There was no hostility in his gaze, only assessment. Lyra felt a strange sense of clarity. Here was the human, whose name made queens tremble. Yet his actions revealed a protector, a leader who moved with intention. Claire spoke softly, explaining their mission to observe and understand. The soldier nodded once, acknowledging them without suspicion. Lyra watched closely as he returned to the survivors, helping where needed and offering guidance without command. His demeanor was quiet, but commanding. Niren landed beside Lyra, wings folding gracefully. Lyra felt the dragon's agreement with her observations. This soldier was unlike anyone they had seen. He had survived countless battles, always moving forward with a purpose greater than personal gain. Each step he took left hope in his wake. Lyra considered the queen's fear. Perhaps it was not the soldier himself that caused dread, but the certainty of his presence. He moved in a way that could not be ignored or resisted. She felt respect growing in her chest. Claire whispered that humans often inspired myths through actions rather than words. Lyra nodded silently. She understood now that their mission was not to confront the soldier with force, but to learn from him, to see the truth of his actions. The soldier continued through the ruins, pausing to help survivors repair damaged equipment and organize the remaining forces. Lyra observed quietly, noting his methodical approach and the way he inspired cooperation without raising his voice. Niren shifted, his wings brushing lightly against the ground. Lyra felt the dragon's quiet agreement. They followed at a distance, learning from the soldier's path and observing his influence on those around him. Lyra felt anticipation and understanding blend. The human soldier was not simply a figure of fear. He was a guide, a stabilizing force in the chaos of war. Every step they took alongside him revealed lessons that would be essential for their mission and for understanding the greater war that threatened the galaxies. As the day faded and shadows stretched long across the ruins, Lyra realized that the human soldier's purpose was clear and unwavering. She felt that understanding his actions would be key to the next steps of the journey and to reporting back to the queen. Niren's presence reminded her that they were ready for whatever came next. The human soldier led them through the ruined sectors with precision and care, each movement a lesson in purpose, leadership, and courage. Lyra and Claire watched closely, knowing that the truth of his character would change everything they believed about fear, power, and hope in the galaxies. Lyra and Claire followed the human soldier through the ruined corridors of the outpost. The silence was thick, only broken by their footsteps and the soft rustle of Niren's wings above. Lyra could feel the weight of history pressing on her. Each hall and chamber held memories of battles long past. The soldier moved carefully, his eyes scanning every shadow and corner. He carried no visible weapon, yet his presence alone made the air feel charged. Lyra felt a chill, understanding why the queen trembled at his name. There was something in his calm strength that commanded attention without force. Claire whispered observations to Lyra, pointing out signs of recent repairs and movements. It seemed that this human did not only fight but also organized those who survived. He left order in his wake, guiding the lost and preparing them for what might come. Lyra watched him closely. She had faced many warriors, many enemies, but none like this. He did not strike from anger or hate. He struck from necessity and precision. Niren hovered close, sensing Lyra's growing tension and curiosity. The dragon's silver scales shimmered in the dim light, reflecting fragments of the past battles that littered the outpost. Lyra felt the bond with Niren strengthen, knowing that they were about to face a moment that could change their understanding of the war. The human soldier paused at a central chamber. Lyra and Claire stayed hidden, observing. The soldier moved with purpose and care, inspecting injured survivors and providing guidance. He spoke softly to those who could hear, giving orders and encouragement. Lyra felt the weight of what she was seeing. The stories told by the queen and others had painted him as a fearsome figure, almost untouchable. But here, in his actions, she saw a protector, a guide, and a leader. Claire nodded to Lyra, sharing the silent understanding that this human was more than legend. They stepped forward slowly, making their presence known without startling him. The soldier turned, his eyes steady and clear. Lyra felt a mix of caution and curiosity. He studied them carefully but did not raise alarm. There was a calm authority in his gaze. Lyra realized that his reputation was not built on intimidation, but on the certainty of his actions. Each move, each decision, inspired confidence in those around him. Niren shifted above them, wings spread in silent warning and protection. The human soldier acknowledged their presence with a nod, neither hostile nor fearful. Lyra felt an unexpected respect. She understood that this encounter would define the next steps of her mission. Claire spoke softly, explaining that they came to understand him, not to fight. The soldier listened, his face remaining calm. He did not speak much but conveyed understanding through gesture and presence. Lyra watched closely, noting the care in his movements and the precision in his actions. This human soldier had survived countless battles without losing his purpose. He moved through destruction and despair, leaving hope behind. Lyra felt a sense of awe. She had come expecting a threat, but found a figure of stability and strength. Niren circled above, sensing the shift in energy. Lyra knew that the bond between them, dragon and elf, had prepared her to face this moment. They would learn from this soldier, understand his actions, and carry the knowledge back to the queen. The human soldier then led them to a central hub of the outpost. Survivors gathered around, seeking guidance and aid. Lyra observed quietly, taking in every detail. He spoke calmly, giving instructions and ensuring safety. There was no fear in his presence, only determination and care. Lyra felt the weight of realization. This soldier was not merely a fighter. He was a symbol of order in chaos. Claire noted the efficiency and clarity of his commands. Lyra recognized the importance of this understanding. The queen's fear might have been misplaced or misunderstood. Here was someone who could shape the outcome of war without raising a weapon unnecessarily. Niren landed beside Lyra, head low, sharing the silent agreement that this was a turning point. The soldier continued his work, unaware or unconcerned about the observation. Lyra and Claire moved closer, ready to learn and understand. They would carry the truth back across the stars, showing that the human soldier was not just feared but respected. Lyra felt a new determination. She would witness his actions fully before reporting to the queen. The journey had brought them to this crucial moment. The human soldier's quiet strength, precision, and care stood as a lesson. Lyra and Claire would remember this, guiding the future of their mission and the hope of the galaxies. Lyra and Claire moved carefully across the desolate moonscape. Niren flew just above the ground, wings brushing low rocks. The air was cold, but steady under their feet. They followed stories of the human soldier who left traces of hope and fear alike. Each survivor they met whispered the same name with caution. Lyra listened without judgment. She wanted to see the truth herself. Claire walked beside her, calm and steady. She shared stories of humans who rose in impossible circumstances. Lyra noticed the contrast between fear and respect in these stories. It was strange that one human could create such tension across worlds. Niren's scales reflected the dull sunlight, making the dragon appear as a moving, silver light. Lyra felt a small comfort in the dragon's presence. The journey had been long and dangerous. Each planet they visited showed the destruction left behind by the ongoing war. Cities were abandoned, forests burned, and oceans polluted. Lyra kept her thoughts focused. She knew the soldier could be near. The trail of battles was unmistakable. It led to a ruined station at the edge of the sector. Survivors there spoke quietly about a figure who moved silently and struck with precision. Lyra could not shake the feeling that this human was more than just a soldier. Claire reminded her that humans often created legends to inspire hope. Lyra considered this. Maybe the stories had grown larger than the man himself, but when she saw the broken armies, she knew someone had been there. She felt the weight of responsibility. Niren growled softly and nudged her. Lyra understood that the dragon sensed something unusual nearby. They moved closer to the station. The walls were scorched, and the air smelled of burnt metal. Lyra checked the perimeter and saw signs of recent movement. Footprints and claw marks led inside. Claire moved with careful steps. She checked sensors and pathways. Lyra felt a mixture of anticipation and caution. They entered the station slowly. It was quiet. Broken machines and scattered supplies filled the halls. Lyra felt the silence press against her. Every sound echoed. Nyren stayed alert, eyes scanning. They followed the trail deeper inside. Suddenly, they heard faint movement. Lyra signaled to stop. They hid behind a wall and watched. A lone human emerged from the shadows. He was tall and worn but moved with purpose. His presence was calm, almost serene. Lyra felt a strange pull. She had expected aggression but found quiet determination. Claire whispered softly, noting the human's focus. Lyra nodded and observed. This was the human soldier. The stories had not exaggerated his presence. He carried no weapon unless needed, yet seemed prepared for anything. Lyra and Claire followed from a distance. The soldier moved through the station, examining damages and helping survivors where he could. Lyra realized his actions spoke louder than any words. He did not seek glory or fear. He worked to end suffering and prepare for the battles ahead. Nyren circled above, wings steady. Lyra felt the dragon's understanding. They were witnessing the truth of the soldier's character. Each step he took left hope for those around him. Lyra considered her mission. She had come to confront a threat, but found a protector. Claire walked beside her, watching Lyra's face for signs of doubt. Lyra felt tension between duty and perception. The Queen's fear had driven this mission, but she could now see a different reality. The human soldier was not simply a fighter of war. He was a force of change. Lyra thought about the stories whispered across the galaxies. Fear and respect were mixed in every telling. Now, she understood. The soldier's fearsome reputation was not born from cruelty but from his relentless skill and the hope he inspired. Lyra and Claire continued to observe, noting every movement and action. They would report back to the Queen, but first they wanted to understand him fully. Nyren swooped closer and nudged Lyra, reminding her of the journey ahead. Lyra nodded and followed. The human soldier led them through a path of ruined halls and battle scars, showing without speaking the consequences of war. Each step revealed lessons that Lyra needed to learn. She understood that understanding him would be key to ending the greater conflict. The journey through the station ended as they approached a central chamber. The human soldier paused, looking toward a distant window. Lyra felt that this pause held more than simple observation. He seemed to weigh the world, his eyes steady and quiet. Claire whispered about his focus and discipline. Lyra felt the first stirrings of respect. The human soldier was more than legend. He was real, and his purpose was clear. She felt anticipation and uncertainty. This was only the beginning of understanding the human soldier who inspired fear and hope across the galaxies. Lyra moved quietly through the halls of the alien palace. Her long silver hair shimmered in the soft light. The walls were carved with shapes that seemed to move when no one looked. Lyra was an elf warrior of great skill, and she carried the weight of her queen's orders on her shoulders. She had been sent to find the human soldier whose name caused fear across all galaxies. The queen had whispered about him with trembling lips. He was said to appear where the war was fiercest, and to defeat armies alone. No one knew how he survived, or why he fought. Lyra did not fear him, yet she felt the pull of something dangerous in the stories. She had Nyren with her. Nyren was her dragon companion, with scales that shone like polished silver. The dragon's eyes were sharp and seemed to read more than the room offered. Lyra trusted Nyren with her life. Together, they had traveled through fire and shadow. The human soldier would be different from anyone she had faced before. The Queen had given few details about him. Only his name and the trail of broken armies were known. They said he never shouted. They said he never showed anger. He moved like a shadow that could strike and vanish. They said even alien warriors who had seen him would not speak his name aloud in fear that saying it might summon him. Lyra felt a chill at the thought, but she kept moving forward. Her mission was clear, and her heart steady. The palace corridors ended at a large chamber where Lyra's escort waited. She saw Claire, a human woman who had joined their team to guide them through human territories. Claire had short brown hair and steady green eyes. She looked calm, though she had heard the stories about the soldier too. Lyra wondered if Claire feared him. She did not show it. Claire explained that humans often rose in the hardest times, and some became legends through courage and skill alone. Lyra listened carefully and nodded. She knew Claire had fought alongside humans before, and she trusted her instincts. The two walked together, as Nyren followed silently behind them. The dragon's wings brushed the air softly, making shadows dance along the walls. Lyra felt a strange tension. Every step seemed to echo the weight of unseen eyes. Stories spoke of the human soldier appearing where armies fell. He seemed guided by something larger than anger or ambition. Lyra wondered if he was alive. Perhaps he was a phantom born from fear. Perhaps he was flesh and blood with a mind beyond ordinary men. They left the palace and boarded a ship that cut through the stars with silver speed. Lyra watched planets drift past in shades of blue and green. Each world they passed showed the scars of war. Cities had been torn apart, and forests had burned to ash. Lyra felt sorrow, but also curiosity. She wanted to see this soldier for herself. Nyren hovered near the windows, wings tucked close, scales catching the light from distant suns. Lyra reached out and touched the dragon. The warmth from his body steadied her thoughts. She thought of the queen's trembling lips when she had said his name. If this human could make a queen fear him, then he must be unlike anyone Lyra had met. She felt a mix of anticipation and caution. Their journey took them through spaceports where whispers of his deeds traveled faster than ships. Lyra saw eyes widen when humans or aliens spoke his name. It was not just fear, but respect, mixed with awe. She realized this human soldier was not only feared for power, but for what he represented. He appeared in places where hope seemed lost. His presence alone could turn the tide of battle. Lyra felt a sense of responsibility. She had to meet him. She had to understand if he was a threat or a protector. Nyren growled softly, sensing her thoughts. Lyra whispered to him, and he calmed. They traveled through broken sectors, seeing abandoned stations and silent moons. Each place told a story of a battle that had ended too quickly. Lyra's heart beat faster with each sight. She wondered how one human could bring such change. At a distant outpost, they stopped to gather information. Survivors spoke in hushed voices. They described a human who fought alone but with purpose. He never sought glory and never stayed for praise. Lyra listened carefully, taking notes and comparing stories. The humans she met spoke of him with respect and fear, but also with hope. Lyra felt a conflict inside. Was he a warrior for peace, or a shadow that left destruction behind? Nyren shifted beside her, wings twitching in impatience. Lyra looked at the dragon and nodded. They would continue. When the human soldier was out there, and the war would not wait. Every story, every whispered name brought her closer to him. Lyra felt the weight of her mission. She would find him. She would face him. She would understand the power that made a queen tremble and armies fall. The stars stretched before her like a road of fire and shadow. The journey had just begun, and every step carried the promise of danger and discovery.